we've been at odds with Silicon Valley on and off since our inception, 20 years ago, where we were essentially patriotic, and that was optional in Silicon Valley and kind of viewed skeptically. Being pro, America winning was kind of like, kind of like being into origami in high school. It's like you didn't get any dates. People kind of felt sorry for you kind of vibe. And it's like, and you're like, but my swan is so beautiful. Why doesn't anyone love me or even like me? Why? And, interestingly now we're largely aligned, certainly in private. This is in private become the one place in America that is really, really disproportionately showing the world that we can do things that really don't exist in the Western world, like the way in which we scale tech, build things creatively. And it's actually a place where people still believe in basic controversial concepts like meritocracy, agency. Like, we actually believe that you can start off with something that looks crazy, and if you fight really hard and you surround yourself with highly annoying but the most competent people, and that's often correlated. It's not causation, but you could, if you were building Palantir, you could think it's causation. It's somewhere between causation and correlation, depending on how much sleep you've had. And we, literally do not care here where you were born, where you came from, what your parents did. We just don't care. And I spent half my life in Europe and in Germany, a tremendous intellectual culture. But yeah, you will more likely end up where you were born when you're 50 or 60 than any other variable. And that's just not the case in Silicon Valley. What I think where we're very aligned then, though, became very aligned with our partners was, and I really underestimated this choice, by simply saying, we're going to build the product that's going to make this government agency superior. And by the way, then, it's like all these conspiracy things online that like they got us. And it's like, it was actually the opposite. We fought the government. There were two big things that led to where we got here. One, we were like, we're going to build the thing the government ought to build, which is data protection while finding the bad person. And that the alpha, it's very similar to alpha in a business is margin and growth. It's not one. Alpha in government is not finding bad person. It's finding bad person while enhancing civil liberties, or at the very least making sure those civil liberties are harder to eviscerate. That's the alpha. But then the underlying proposition was, we are going to build the whole company around what creates the most value. Now, it was partly in great part because we believed in it. It was also because we, and especially I, had the sense, no one's going to buy this product from us unless it's 10 times better, because they are not looking at me and saying, you look like me and I'm going to buy that product. And if you build downstream from value creation, you end up with forward deployed engineers, echoes, deltas, devs, very few trained people. And the reason you end up with forward deployed engineers, especially in the beginning, is you have to extend the product. And the product we built in the beginning was essentially, how do you enhance data protection and find terrorists in a context where you don't have LLMs? And so you have to use very primitive NLP technology. And the answer to that is you build this incredibly difficult to build product with a team of the best engineers I think anyone's seen in Silicon Valley in decades. But then even that didn't work. So we had to have people on the front end who are essentially engineers extending the product to a place where the product couldn't go. And why did we do that? I mean, again, those of you who are, over 40 know the punishment of doing that meant that every single financially trained person was on the other side of the business, because what did everyone know as a fact? If you're doing quote unquote services, you have a 1 multiple. Nobody wants to invest in a business that has a 1 multiple. So you are screwed. And in fact, the fact that everyone thought it was a cult, we kind of were, was what saved the company, because we were so in our cult. We were like, multiples. We're not interested in that. We're not going public. So, but if you then fast forward to now, what is driving our business in the US? It's like, yeah, of course we have the best partners. You're the best partners. What defines a best partner? A partner is somebody who wants to create maximum value in their business, meaning revenue and margin shift, and everything that is kind of downstream of that. Safety goes up, happiness goes up of employees. Workers, one of the things I do think Silicon Valley is totally effed up. It's like in overhyping the value of LLMs by not listening to our treatises of truth that an LLM is a raw material that has to be processed, and the processing of the LLM will change America and change the world. By overhyping the LLM and saying you're going to have AGI tomorrow, when of course that wasn't what was going to happen, you had to go adversarial to workers, because you had to say, well, of course you're going to disappear tomorrow because our LLM doesn't work the way it should today and is very valuable, but it's not without an ontology architecture around it to make it predictive, a very unseemingly powerful tool that's built on statistics, more precise. You had to say the less precise thing is going to be fully valued tomorrow. And so instead of doing what it should have done, which is you can actually transform your business by being open to different ways of doing business. And what would that mean? It would mean anywhere where human ingenuity can be enhanced, whether that's the worker, whether that's the person running something, where the person who's in charge of a part of their business can take large language models, use them inside their enterprise. And what does that mean? It means extending the human mind. It means being able to use the large language model to change margins, to increase safety, to increase revenue. And how do you do that? Well, of course, the model has to interact with an understanding of your business as it is. What is your business? It is a concatenation of your insights, your knowledge of how to run the business, your competitive advantage, which is essentially tribal. I know how to do this in a different way than anyone else. The high fidelity data sets in your business, and your ability to orchestrate the large language models outside of your business while being inside an abstraction of your business. You would need something like Ontology and Foundry. Maybe you could get it from someone else. And you would need forward deployed engineers on our side to teach your people how to be forward deployed engineers, because there's a way in which you still have to extend the product. So it is extending your uniqueness. It is not making you a commodity. And by the way, this is where we're aligned against what most people view as a business, because we want a non-commodified business. We want a business that is completely differentiated than anyone else's, so that people struggle to compete to the point where they just have to complain about you on TV, which is what happens to us every day. Everyone's complaining about, it's like, it's like, that's what you want for your business. And that's exactly what you can get by taking essentially this very, very important raw material and using it in a processed form in your business. And I think this is why we're so happy with you. And I hope you're as happy with us as we are with you, and why, we can, and I think, basically transfer over time our financials to your financials, because we're doing exactly the same thing. And then what I personally love about this is it gives a massively unfair advantage largely to businesses in this country. Why? Because if you compare corporate culture in America to any other country, you have highly dynamic, meritocratic structures that are plastic in the sense that people will move and change to what works, not what worked yesterday. It is like Germany is an incredible culture, but the way in which the corporate structure works is the whole corporate structure is in charge for like 30 years. Like, it is nearly impossible to change how you do things. In America, we're like, what the hell? We're just going to do what works. And then you have essentially this is a native capacity. It's in America. And that also is a huge differentiator, because de facto, it's very hard to accept a new way of doing things if the person explaining it is not rooted deeply into your culture. And so this just completely hypercharges industry. Now, it also hypercharges government, which is why we're doing very well in government, although it's worthy of note whenever people are like, Palantir's doing too well in government. I was like, yeah, we are doing very well, but it's 40 points less than how we're doing in commercial. But any case, what makes me really look forward to these conferences, and every time even more, is we are fully aligned with making sure your world looks closer to our world, which is you're able to radically increase growth, radically decrease margins, and increase the happiness of the people in your business at all levels of business, including workers. And that is actually the real promise of the AI revolution. And, and I'm really happy you're here. And then the other, it's just like, it's incredible to have, it's easy for, like in the end of the day, people are going to think, well, yeah, he's in charge of the company. He's a large owner. Of course he says that. Well, again, that's why we have people here. It's like, one of the things we learned when we built PG in the beginning was we could run around telling governments it's the best product, or we could put people in the room and you could talk about your experiences, good, bad, ugly. And then what you're doing here is you are actually a change agent function, because in fact, you got on the boat, and the reason why I'm grateful to you, you got on the boat before anyone else. And now everybody's like, I have a bot in my company that's not really working. I have a piece of software in my company that was basically, I don't know, like every single company we look at, there's like, I don't know, at scale, there's like $1 billion of like duplicative software that is just a Frankenstein monster lurking in your company, preventing you from doing what you want. What is it you want to know? I want to know the cost of goods. I want to know how I'm going to increase. How am I going to be more efficient? How do I deal with a situation where there's macroeconomic disruption? And the thing that's impeding you from that is the software that is lurking in your system that you somehow can't take out. And we're going to partner with you to do that. And you're going to partner with us to make your company great, and occasionally tell other people that we helped you, and that we're not the freak show that people think, or we are. My favorite compliments in government were, like, honestly, from the special forces. They're like, man, you guys look really freaky. And in the beginning, I didn't like you. But when you helped save my buddy's life, I really learned to like you. And another lesson in Silicon Valley is we are able to learn to like people and partner with people that in the beginning were not exactly our cup of tea. And we do this as a culture. It's one of the most underestimated parts of our culture. American culture learns to like what works. And that's a very rare quality. It's very different than like other interesting, great places in the world. We really do learn to like and value what is working. Not what worked in the past, not what could work, not what they say at Berkeley philosophy department is going to work, not what some crazy person on the right or left aspires to believe could work in a society that wasn't differentiated, that didn't have technology, that didn't have finance, and didn't have any enemies. Yeah, lots of things work under those conditions, including, the faculty lounge at Berkeley. But in this world, Americans learn to like and love things that actually do work and give disruptive value. And that's essentially what we're claiming to do with you as partners. So very happy to have you here. Delighted. And I hope you have a great time. Take care. Bye.
There, you can just have a seat wherever you want. What is the big announcement from today? Are you trying to tell more of a story around enterprise with this?
We're kind of not. I think we're just. It's more like we're crushing it.
Yeah.
Everyone tells us to be super modest about 93% growth in the U.S. and 94 rule of 40. They may be redefining the rule to like make sure the other people don't like have to live in shame. Yeah. I keep seeing these articles like in the Wall Street Journal. It's like rule of 40 isn't real. It isn't real. Yeah, it isn't real because we're like crushing everyone.
You were forced to be humble for a really long time.
I was forced. Well, people were showering me with humble nuggets all day. It didn't really exactly work. Yeah. But, I do think you have to judge humility by the delta between performance and ego. Mm-hmm. And I would say somewhat immodestly, I'm the most humble I've ever been. And I think it's like, so what we try to accomplish with, we've been doing these kind of conferences forever. Yeah. Basically, because everything we've done at Palantir is like completely it's antithetical or at least orthogonal to how you would build a business.
Yeah.
You guys look at a lot of businesses. You would never build a software downstream from value creation. It's all basically, how do I make the client feel like they're getting laid when they're getting fucked? That's
Yes.
the whole way you build a software business. In our business, we began in the beginning. I used to tell people, we're a mutually servicing business. Both sides should be happy.
Yeah.
And the way we built the business was it basically underlying metric. I always thought was, the logic of software should be, we charge you something downstream of value creation. That sum is a percentage of the value we create. It's better for both sides because it's significantly less than the value create. It's good for us because there's a multiple on the value. The flaw in the logic was always that FDE model would basically mean that you'd get a 1 multiple. So we were structurally misaligned with everyone in finance, everyone not at the Founders Fund, but basically everybody else because of that. Now, what we've proven with ontology, FDE structures where FDE are actually technical, and internal orchestration, which is largely artistic, basically was, now we got very lucky because without large language models, this would not be hypercharged. So it still didn't exactly make sense, but lo and behold, we have large language models. It hypercharges everything. So downstream value creation is an enormous amount of money. And because of our unit economics now, which are, some people believe are the best in the world, we actually get fairly valued. And what are we doing actually downstairs is we're saying, America's central advantage is the plasticity of how we approach the pragmatism, right? Mm-hmm. So businesses have to move from businesses where it made sense to have parasitic software products that are basically helping you sell. It's like one of these things. It's like you believe you're learning to sell. They're selling you on something that you can't get rid of. Yeah. You then run to Wall Street and say, we have 50,000 clients that all hate us. They're like, great, that's a software business because the hating means they can't get rid of you.
But a platform business means that you're creating more value than you capture.
Well, the way we sell is and this is why all these things are hugely contradictory. Our revenue's going up, our sales force is going down. The number of people we plan to have in the future is less than now. We are very focused on, everybody's high volume. The volume makes up for, the fact that revenue decreases per client. We're not focused on that at all. We believe we're going to make more from people in the future than in the past, sizably more, because it's why should we not capture part of the value that we help create? Actually, it doesn't have to be the majority. In fact, it's usually the minority of the value you create. We also believe that if from more kind of architectural implementation, technical perspective, the value is in high fidelity data captured in ontology with FDEs, and where there's an enhancing factor with LLMs, and that's going to be very, very hard to replicate. But again, all of this is kind of very non-traditional. And so what we're really doing in these conferences is saying the same thing we say on the outside. Don't believe anything we're saying. Mm-hmm. Talk to other people who have done it. Mm-hmm. We don't chaperone the people here. So they're you can talk about things you like, things you don't like. Yep. People are on stage, but learn how to build the business of the future. What does the business of the future look like? Actually, the interesting thing is workers become more valuable. Actually trained workers become more valuable. This is exactly the opposite of what people are saying, but it's true. The person at the top is actually crazy valuable. People with technical expertise are crazy valuable. And everything else is going to be done in Foundry, ontology, and something like an FDA. So the orchestration of the business is completely different.
Yeah. Where are Fortune 500 companies getting screwed by these AI pilots? We saw this stat, 95% of AI trials in the enterprise aren't converting. What's going on there? What does it look like when somebody sells someone snake oil
there's
in
a
the
technical
enterprise?
reason. These LLMs are probabilistic. Yeah. They're not precise. The value of LLM is when it's essentially in an ontology wrapper, because to actually create value, you have to be able to take the output, serialize it, and deserialize it in the context of the business. So the logic, actions, and security of the business and its tribal knowledge and what it's trying to accomplish. LLMs are vertically crucial, but the error bound is very, very, very narrow. And the way you actually do LLMs in the real world, not in theory, is that you essentially put them in a concatenated chain where each single thing has to be done as a discrete unit, because otherwise the underlying math is 95 times 100 separate chains. It's totally unreliable. Yeah. And if you do it any other way, you're getting a steak dinner. Yeah. And that steak dinner is super tasty. It's not going to work. And even worse than the steak dinner, honestly, is that you're being taught how to do something incorrectly. It's like, okay, I'm going to learn how to learn from a wokester.
Yeah.
Great. The damage that wokester's doing, mostly on the left, but occasionally on the right, the real damage they're doing is they're teaching you how not to learn. Like, and if you just pick your favorite person, right, left, center, who's just selling complete garbage, it's all conspiracy, the whole thing. Yeah, there's no such thing as building. There's no such thing as agency.
Yep.
You can get away with that BS. Well, if you want to, like, Palantir's lifted. One of the things I'm proudest about in the world is we've lifted people from their mom's garage to their own house. Millions of people. You want to stay in that garage, you listen to those people. And it's the same thing happens in enterprise. They're selling you something where you think you're getting laid and you're getting fucked. And that, once you're fucked like that, it's very hard to undo it. Yeah. And like, the crazy thing about my life is I'm like this wacky dyslexic. It's actually much harder to be dyslexic, but it's also much harder to get fucked because you don't believe you don't believe in any of this BS. It's like,
well, so speaking of sales, there was the CEO, founder CEO of a CRM company that was making some comments yesterday. Did you catch?
I look, Palantir, we structurally mind our own business, and I love that everyone minds our business. But I would say we constantly have people on TV. It always sounds like, the guy in high school who's like, but I'm so nice. Why don't I get laid? It's like, it's literally like, it's the same thing. I'm so nice. I create all the value and I'm so nice. I'm begging to get laid and no one, it's like, I have such a big this, I have such a big that. And we're like, yeah, we're not trying, dude. We're here, and yeah.
I don't think about you at all.
It's like, we are very focused on value creation, and we ask to be modestly compensated for that value. And if you disagree, you don't like us as a client, or you love us as a client, but you think it's like, great, we're doing our thing. At Palantir right now in the U.S. is the market that counts. We don't have the people. We don't have the time. We orchestrating completely perfectly at Palantir, which of course we don't do, because we're like an artist colony, right? We don't have a time to actually focus on what we need to extending certain components of ontology we have to do, extending Maven for the sake of the West, building things in classified environments, extending things with high value things. We're focused on that, and we don't have the time. When you're growing 93% off of a very serious base with a de facto de minimis, it's the 93, and that's not even our best number. It's 94% rule of 40. It's like, and then people are like, oh yeah, well, but we have all the skills, we have all the motion, but somehow our ocean isn't working. It's so big, but it's not. It's like, yeah, great. You have you have time to focus on us. We got things to focus on here that are crucial.
And you guys are, it feels like you're reacting to the changing world and actual customer needs, whereas other players are reacting to
let me give you a more kind of slightly philosophical economic thing. What the large language model models do in combination with ontology and FDEs and knowing what you're doing is it creates Pareto optimality over time. We're not there exactly, but every single tech company in the world is going to be paid based on value creation. Maybe that's not completely true today. It will be true tomorrow. So when any company is saying something, you really have to ask, given that the aspiration of LLMs are transparency and competence, broadly defined. They've actually, the big cultural shift on enterprises, people running enterprises believe that this thing should work. I should know the cost of the components in my business to the second. I should know how to rebuild things if there's a macroeconomic trajectory. I should be able to put the bomb on your head and not on his head. Okay, so that basically means every conversation in the future is going to be, you create X value, I'm going to pay you Y. And the central problem a lot of the larger kind of less agile, sclerotic companies have is it's like, they can't, it's very hard to move from I get paid because you can't get rid of me to I get paid because you could get rid of me, but you don't want to because you're creating so much value. But that's where the future is going. And people talk about how are we going to, do 10x in revenue, blah, 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 with the same or less people. It's like, yes, but the whole market's going to have to move to value creation. And we're in the business of that and try to do it. It's not.
Yeah. Do you think long term that the gross margins of software companies will change materially because of like LLM inference costs, like token factory costs, that type of thing?
Well, you mean like enterprise software companies?
Yeah, I mean, if I look at like the Fortune 500 right now, there's like a set number of gross margin that's out there. Should we expect like gross margin compression based on AI bills, basically?
Well, first of all, I think let me just give you the trends. I think first of all, skilled workers are going to become more valuable.
Sure.
You're going to be paying them more. They're going to be happier. It's downstream politically. It's very hard to argue for anything but high-end immigration. So like, why do you need more people? Like, we got to make the people we have here work.
Yep.
So like politically, it's like, I'm an unhappy Democrat, but running around saying, oh, crime isn't an issue when everyone knows crime is an issue is like, it's like suicidal BS, and no one believes it. And now that wokeism is luckily mostly, at least in that way, not as punishing, we can all just admit the obvious. Yeah. So like transparency is going to be like, so the people are like, workers are going to become more expensive. The overhead's going to become less. Truly, basically, artist-shaped people are going to be incredibly valuable, and they're going to demand to be very highly paid. So, but the aggregate cost structure will come down, but more importantly, the products you build are going to be much closer to what the market wants in real time. Yeah. And then again, just an obvious thing, this is happening, like we have 10x growth in America compared to Europe. Same people, same products, same everything. So it's like, and then the other thing, the point that's a little less obvious that I think people ignore is time is not time. We always assume a minute of time is a minute of time. It's not. Like, it's like from the time you want to do something to the time it happens, if that's 10% of the time, you just got a 10x. So it's like, it's like Palantir's not these kind of atrophied companies. It takes them 3 years, 5 years to get a year. It takes us a week to get a year. So it's like, it's like that's actually what explains the numbers in a weird way is, yes, but what if 5 years represents 40 years? What if I'm saying in the next 5 years? It's like the whole problem with the DCF model actually that experts love is A, they don't understand product. And then B, they kind of extend the DCF if they like you. So it's like, oh, I like the person. The DCF is super long. Yeah, it's like, give them an extra decade of steak dinners. But the real problem that they somehow don't understand in the DCF amount is a year is not a year for Palantir. Yeah. Like a year is like, we don't do holidays. I'm working all the time. I'm orchestrating. Sure. Honestly, I sometimes hate the enemies of Palantir, but God, do they get me to go back to orchestration? Because I'm like, I'm going to fuck these people. and the basic way I'm going to do it is, going back to like, dyslexic, like organization orchestration of we're going to have the best products, the best people. I'm going to recruit those people. I'm going to make sure they're the most valuable, and I'm going to put them in enterprises that value us. And if you don't value us, go work with the people that hate us. Try them out.
Yeah. Do you have advice for young people? I mean, you said like artist-like people, not literally artists.
Yeah, and you said the company is like an artist colony.
Yeah. Can you just become an artist if you're a young person?
People underestimate like their artistry because like from a young age, you get huge benefits for conforming. And you can say, well, I don't. I mean, the central advantage of being dyslexic, we can't conform. Yeah. So that ends up being a huge, because you just can't. So you're going to have to, so your basic thing you have to emerge, do not conform. And by the way, the people who are telling you simplistic bullshit, that means, like meritocracy isn't going to matter, you're not going to judge, all these conspiracies, you can't do wealth accumulation if you're in this country, like in America. I think actually a lot of these things are true in other countries. Yeah. But in this country, they're teaching you how not to learn, how to be complacent, how to give up your agency, how to fail, and how to blame it on anyone else. And so you have to reject
that.
Yeah, reject that. That's kind of, and then you have to really, really look at people and judge them by their fruits. The best way to learn is to look at somebody and say, okay, well, it's like, you work with somebody like the co-founding team at Palantir. So you have Peter, Joe, Stefan, Nathan. Like part of what made us so good is it's like, okay, you can measure yourself. It's like, when I started at Palantir, I actually because I just wanted to be left alone. I was like, I'm going to make some money. I'm going to move to Berlin. I'm going to live a debaucherous life. That was my goal. Like, I'm moving to Berlin. I thought I needed 250K. I was like, at 250K is a minimum, $1 million a maximum. Yeah. I'm moving to Berlin. I'm going to like debauchery forever.
Berghain.
And well, I had to So it's and then
set up a remote office
but like you then measure yourself and it's like, okay, well, I'm highly differentiated on managing complicated people who have to believe their opinion is their opinion, but still have to build a product that actually delivers value. That's my differentiation. Yeah. And so like you surround yourself, and then you have to remember the being persuasive and being right are not correlated. So you have to really look at people who are historically right, give them the rebuttable presumption that they are right, and work back to discover if they're right or wrong. Not just, and all these things. And like, for example, on the Palantir thing, is a great lesson. Go listen to our critics, whatever critic you love. We're a conspiracy theory. So like you could take the left-wing version, which is like Palantir is stripping you of your civil liberties, which some people on the right believe. Palantir is a Jewish conspiracy run by a mutt. Somehow, okay, whatever, it's like, okay, well, actually, how does the product work? Does the product protect data? How does it protect it? Is it better than any other company in the world at doing this? How do you build a company? Do you think it's just like an allocation based on a conspiracy? Why did we work?
Yeah, just pick your conspiracy and that's the strategy.
Yeah, but then unpack it and learn for yourself. Like, did this work? How did this work? How did they do it? Assume that at every single decision, if it was a decision anyone else would have made, you would not have worked, because that's a commodity. Commodities aren't valuable. And then apply that to your life. What part of this do you understand? Like, what part do you not understand? What part do you understand better than them? What part could you do better than them? And the weird thing about LLM ontology foundry is this actually will work for anyone watching this podcast. Like if you're watching this podcast and you enjoy this, you've already passed the test. I don't care whether you're a welder, a plumber, a carpenter, an astrophysicist, or somebody who'd like to build a business, or just want to get rich, or you want to get enough money and move somewhere and do what I want to do.
Berlin.
Germany.
It's not the right place anymore. But in any case, but you've already passed that test. Now go out and pass the test for life.
Yeah. You said Germany's not the right place anymore. Like, what is your current mental model for the state of the world order? Like, is America in decline? Do we need to bring things back? Like, who are the power players? What's
America is power player number one right now, and like all this media BS. It's like you got to compare America to, and you can't compare America to something you're pretending in your head could be America. Compare it to Europe. I don't know. What do you want to compare it to China? Like you want to have no rights? Again, I'm actually not anti-Chinese culture, but CCP. It's like compare it to Europe. Like no tech industry. Everyone rich was born rich, basically, or with almost no exceptions. The most important Germanic company, I hope someone from Germany is listening to this, kommt aus Palo Alto, is Peter Thiel und ich. So it's like the only German company since SAP that's real.
SAP,
and they won't listen to us. Like, just think about that. You have Peter Thiel, like the most important venture person maybe that's ever lived, co-founder of Palantir, and you have me. It was like somewhat, basic, partially Germanics, did my PhD in German, and you have no tech industry. Wouldn't you have us on fucking speed dial?
Yeah.
I mean, like on speed dial. Like, you don't have to listen to what we're saying. You don't have to agree with what we're saying. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? You're talking to your, like, I don't know, expert that came here and studied us.
Trust the experts.
Trust the experts. It's like, so it's like energy. Like, we're
Do you think they will? Do you think that there's optimism around the idea of
you'd still pick up the phone call, right?
Oh no,
because they could just
I pick
start.
I pick up. It's crazy who calls me. It's like, it's honestly like I can't talk out of school. Who calls me. You'd be surprised the number of people come, and I begin every call with, "Don't listen to me." Very few people have. I'm going to give you the freak show answer. You probably want to ignore it. This is what I think, and they're like, "Huh? Okay, okay." Some call back, some don't. But of course, I would. I have a lot of. Honestly, we have a huge retail. We have a crazy thing about Germany is a huge retail investor base.
Sure.
They don't admit it in public, but in private, they're like, keep going, keep going. No, I'm just saying. The point I'm saying is, it's like, so then it's like energy, technical talent, understanding how to manage the technical talent. That's an art. Like we have the right venture people, the right entrepreneurs, the right spirit. We have generations of people who are entrepreneurial here. It's like kind of
tall poppy syndrome.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. That's we're very well. This is the thing, we have to fight for this. Because that no tall poppy, what that basically means, and people may not realize this, but in every other culture I know of, and I lived abroad in Germany, Europe, incredible cultures. But if your head sticks above the line, it gets cut off.
Yep.
There's one culture where that doesn't happen. It's here. The only thing is we have to fight for that, because the thing that unifies the woke left and the woke right is they don't like the consequences of meritocracy. They want to work back to the inputs. So, and that like just will screw society. It's like you've got to be able to allow people to succeed wherever they go. Now, I was kind of still progressive, even though I believes it. I super would like the inputs to be fair, but the outputs, those are the outputs.
It's the result of freedom.
Okay, last question. We got to get you out of here. I walked by your office. There were some kettlebells. What are the kettlebells for?
Oh, okay. Well, this is slightly long. I'll give you a short version.
Please.
So to be a cross-country skier, you've got to train year-round.
Yeah.
So you need substantial VO2 max, and actually you need to be strong per unit of weight. Sure. So as an example, I do 3 days a week of kind of above and below lactate threshold running, but mostly pretty far, and then once a week kind of at. Yeah. And then I do 2 days of strength, 1 day of like endurance strength. And currently, the thing I'm actually really proud of is I just started doing hang from a bar as a dead hang like 4 months ago, and I hit 4 minutes and 36 seconds.
4 minutes and 30 seconds.
4 minutes and 36 seconds.
What's the goal for the end of the year?
What do we do?
Well, actually, my goal for the you
gotta hit the soundboard.
This isn't just money. This is no. I mean, my goal for the year was for actually the next 12 months. Was 4 minutes.
Okay.
But then there's the number
so we got to
two.
get those numbers up.
Yeah. Well, no, but the number two, the second best mountain climber in Norway. Yeah. I don't know if you know his name, but I have a picture. He did 4 minutes and 22 seconds. So
Ooh, there you go.
There you go. What can I do?
Well,
did it part-time.
This was fantastic.
Thank you for having us.